Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome founder of the Walk Away campaign, Brandon Straka.
Thank you. Thank you, CPAC. It's always good to be here with people who still believe in this country, even when it is not easy. Because let's be honest, this is not an easy moment for our movement. There's energy, there's passion, there's momentum, but there's also something else. There's frustration, there's division, and there's a growing sense that something doesn't feel right, that the right is not all right. And if we don't address that honestly, we're doomed. I have become, for many people, a symbol of changing one's mind, for standing up for one's principles against tyrannical mobs of ideologues and for fighting for the truth. I am the former liberal who walked away from the Democratic Party and created the first and most successful national movement of former liberals walking away from the anti-American left. To date, over 1 million people have joined Walk Away, and over 100,000 people have shared their Walk Away testimonials with us. I walked away back in 2017 for many reasons, but the bottom line is that existing on the left became intolerable. Asking questions became forbidden, and in fact, often met with anger, contempt, and vicious backlash. Expressing support for somebody the left deemed to be canceled was a one-way ticket to getting canceled yourself. And daring to express an opinion outside the approved narrative and belief system would ensure that my former side would label me a racist, a bigot, or some sort of morally bankrupt submissive to the cause. When I came over to the right back in 2018, I was exhilarated. After years of feeling suffocated, stifled, and oftentimes bullied by my fellow liberals, I felt that I had finally found the promised land on the right, a place where I could tell the truth, express my opinions openly, and disagree with others without being disagreeable. Where a difference of opinion didn't turn into an attack on someone's character or their right to exist within the movement. What a refreshing change after being pushed out of a movement, overtaken by mob rule of mindless apparatchiks who would gladly destroy anybody who questions the status quo. That's how I felt from 2017 through 2020. But the truth is, I don't feel that way anymore. In the past year, a great divide has taken place in the MAGA movement. The movement has been split. This divide is ideological, it's tribal, it's fanatical, it's doctrinal, it's irrationally emotional, it's generational, and in fact, if you're getting most of your news from Fox News or Facebook, there's a good chance you probably don't even know what I'm talking about right now. But perhaps most distressing of all, it's personal. Every day now, I watch as friends and former friends, colleagues, allies, and followers of mine participate in savage character assassinations of people who 1 year ago, they considered heroes to our movement. But even worse, there's now a demand that everyone must participate, that if we're truly moral, truly good, and true patriots, we must take a side in this divide. 5 years ago, the FBI raided my home, put me in handcuffs, and charged me with multiple felonies based on 100% false claims against me related to being outside of the Capitol on January 6th. On that day, my life became a brutal nightmare, and that nightmare went on for 4 years. During that time, at least half of the conservative movement turned their backs on me. I watched as the very same people who clamored to be in my spotlight suddenly didn't know who I was anymore. And despite the fact that I was completely innocent, many Republican elected officials would no longer meet with me or take my calls. Many TV shows would no longer have me on. And suffice it to say, it was a challenge to find high-profile people within our movement willing to support me and stick their necks out for me. Now, to be clear, many people did stand up for me. Noble and honorable people, people with integrity, decency, and good character. And when I look back on that time, when I desperately needed friends, allies, and support, the two men of highest stature within the movement who did not close their doors on me, who had me on their shows and gave me a platform and a voice when I needed it the most, were Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson. And now I'm being told I must choose between these two men. I'm either Team Mark, which according to one group would make me a warmongering neocon and a shill for Israel, or I'm Team Tucker, which according to another group would make me a rabid, Jew-hating anti-Semite, cried all the people with their torches and pitchforks. None of these assertions are true. And the truth still needs to matter more than slandering people's characters to win political arguments. When I was going through my hell, only two members, elected members of Congress, took my phone calls. Two. That was Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie was one of the only elected members of Congress to visit J6ers in prison. She was the only member of Congress to sponsor the Matthew Lawrence Perna bill, named after one of the J6ers who committed suicide due to the brutality he endured at the hands of the United States government. And a few years ago, she came to the walkaway booth at CPAC and held my hands and prayed with me while the media took pictures of us and mocked us. And now a directive has gone out that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a traitor. And if you want to be a part of the in crowd, it is mandatory that you must hate her too. If I were to ask, probably at least half the people in this room would say that they didn't like her anymore. And if I were to ask why, I bet the majority wouldn't even know themselves. When did we become the left? When did we become hive-minded, mean, and tribal? When did we decide that not only must we cancel those we disagree with, but we must control the people around us with intimidation, demanding that they think the way we think and join the cancel mob too, or be branded themselves? And when did we allow some of the most toxic, nasty, and vicious people on the planet to become the spokespeople for MAGA and the arbiters of purity tests, deciding who is and isn't worthy enough to continue to call themselves MAGA? But perhaps, most importantly, when did we decide that it was off limits to question our own government or the government of any other country? Let me tell you something. If you call yourself a patriot, but you believe that it is your obligation to only praise and only worship your president, then you must not be a patriot of this country. Because leader worship is how citizens behave in nations that aren't free. You can love your president, and you should. But it is your duty and your obligation as a free citizen of the United States of America to challenge and question your government every day, regardless of who the president of the United States is. To demand action, answers, and transparency. In fact, the most unpatriotic thing you can ever do is go with the flow and give your unquestioning loyalty to the government and demand that others around you do the same. So no, I will not be choosing between Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson. I love them both. And both of them have political ideas that I strongly disagree with. And both of them have controversial beliefs that I support. And regardless of both of those things, they are both good and decent men. And just as I walked away from a movement that tried to demand my submission, conformity, and silence, nobody on the right is ever going to tell me what I have to think or believe or who I'm allowed to be friends with. I would rather walk away. I'd rather lose everything I have, again, than go along to get along with a mob that no longer cares about the truth, because that's what strong men do. Weak men choose anger and hate and destruction. And may I remind you, God is truth and love. Identity politics begin when a movement deems any group of people untouchable. The left has done this with blacks, gays, trans, placed these groups on a pedestal where they are not allowed to be criticized. Then guess what happens? Radicals, operatives, saboteurs latch on and infiltrate, and nobody is allowed to talk about it for fear of being labeled a bigot. We cannot have untouchable things. We cannot have groups or individuals or foreign governments that we are not allowed to ask questions about. That is a pathway to our destruction. Limitless debate, open discussion, and anti-censorship must always be the cornerstones of the conservative movement, with absolutely no exceptions. When I left the left, people on both sides of the aisle asked me, why didn't you just stay on the left and fight to fix it? And I would tell them, because it can't be fixed. The left is too far gone. I've questioned a lot recently if I can continue to be a Republican. I know many of you out there agree. Everything seems at times very fake and gay. And I strive to be authentic and gay. I think we should all strive to be authentic and gay every day. We need to see justice for the victims of January 6th who were financially destroyed and seem to have been completely forgotten. Completely forgotten. We need accountability for Fauci and the horrors inflicted during COVID. We need to see accountability for Fani Willis and Letitia James and all the rotten apples who still exist. All the rotten apples who still exist in the FBI and DOJ. We need the SAVE Act passed right now so we can begin to trust in our elections. We need affordable housing and lower interest rates so that people under 30 can believe that home ownership and the American dream are still possibilities for them. We need promises kept on mass deportations and the prioritization of American jobs going to American workers. And we need to fight against censorship, online and offline, every single day, because that fight never ends. I don't want to walk away from the right. I want to stay and fight to fix it. Because if we can continue to talk to each other openly and honestly, without engaging in personal attacks or assuming bad intentions, our differences are not so great that they can't be overcome. My organization, #Walkaway Campaign, will continue to dive into the conservative divide this year with an ongoing series of panel debates for social media. This week we filmed the first one, Conservative Boomers versus Conservative Millennials, with the hope of bridging the divide and bringing us closer together to the golden age of our movement. Please follow our work and our mission by going to walkawaycampaign.com and signing up for our email and text list so that you can stay notified as these videos come out. And please support our work. That's walkawaycampaign.com. We only lose when we stop telling the truth and when we stop allowing the truth to be told. And if there's one thing you can count on, it is that I will never stop telling the truth. God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen,